The alarm screamed through the bridge of the Imperial Patrol ship Eternal. Vigilance, Fleet Commander Jarrans. Forearms moved across his control panel. With practiced efficiency, his purple skin darkening with concern. In 300 years of service he had never seen readings like this. Report, he commanded, his voice steady despite the chaos erupting around him. Commander, we have a massive energy signature appearing from nowhere. His sensor officer reported, her voice trembling. It's not a jump portal, it's not a wormhole, it's something else entirely. Jathron leaned forward in his command chair. Space itself was tearing open. Before them, a wound in reality that pulsed with colors that had no name. His ship's computer screamed warnings about radiation levels, gravitational anomalies, and energy outputs that should not exist. Then it appeared. Ship that emerged was unlike anything in the Imperial database. It was enormous, easily 3 times the size of his flagship. Its hull was smooth and dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Strange symbols marked its side, and weapons ports dotted its surface like the eyes of some ancient predator. The design was alien, aggressive, and beautiful in a terrifying way. All ships, battle stations, Jathron ordered. His fleet of 12 patrol vessels moved into defensive formation, though he knew deep in his hearts that if this unknown ship was hostile, they would not survive long enough to send a warning. Commander, it's broadcasting, his communications officer said, but the language is ancient. The computer is trying to translate now. Jathron waited. Galactic Empire had ruled known space. For 3,000 years, they had cataloged every spacefaring species, absorbed or allied with hundreds of civilizations. There should be nothing unknown left. But this ship proved that assumption. Wrong translation complete, sir. It's human. The word sent a shock through the bridge. Human, the species that had vanished 800 years ago, presumed extinct, or fallen back into primitive darkness. The Empire had discovered them once, briefly made contact with a small fleet of colony ships, then those ships had disappeared, their navigation systems failing, their distress calls going silent. The Empire had searched for decades but found nothing. Eventually, humanity became a footnote in galactic history, a cautionary tale about species that reached too far too fast. Hail them, Jathron ordered. Use every frequency. If they're human, they may not have modern communication protocols. For long minutes there was only silence. The human ship hung in space like a sleeping giant, its weapons powered but not targeting anything. Jathron's tactical officer reported that the ship shields were active, and unlike anything they had encountered, they seemed to shift in phase, making it impossible to get accurate readings. Then the response came. This is the United Earth Systems Navy ship. Indomitable, we received your hails but needed time to verify you weren't hostile. Identify yourselves and state your intentions. The voice was female, speaking in flawless Imperial standard. Jathron's translator worked in reverse, and he heard the underlying human language, melodic and strange. This is Fleet Commander Jathron of the Vrexian Imperial Patrol. You are in Empire space. We thought humanity was extinct. Where have you been? A pause, then laughter, genuine and confused. Extinct. We've been exploring and colonizing for 800 years. We have 52 colony worlds, 14 major shipyards, and a population of 40 Billion, who told you we were extinct? Jthron felt all four of his hearts skip. A beat 52 worlds, that was impossible. The humans they had met 8 centuries ago barely had functional, faster than light travel. They had been struggling, desperate, fleeing some disaster on their home world. We met humans 800 years ago, a fleet of colony ships. They went silent, we searched but found nothing. Another paused longer this time. When the human responded, her voice was softer, sad. The Western fleet, we lost contact with them too. Navigation system cascade failure. We thought they were gone. We've been searching for them for centuries while expanding in the other direction. Other direction, CH Thranon asked. Commander, perhaps we should meet in person. I'm Admiral Sarah Chen. If what you're saying is true, if there's been a massive galactic civilization right next door and we didn't know about it, we have a lot to discuss. Jaeon made a decision that would change galactic history. Agreed. I'm transmitting coordinates for a neutral location. We'll construct a meeting station there. Understood. Indomitable will hold position here. Just one question. Commander, yes, you called this a patrol fleet. How many ships does the Empire have? Jethron felt pride swell in his chest. The Imperial Navy commands 17,000 warships across 1,000 star systems. How many ships does Earth have? The response chilled him. In this sector, just the Indomitable. It's a scout frigate, one of our smallest long-range vessels. Our main battle fleet operates closer to home. We have about 300 capital ships and maybe 2,000 support vessels. The connection went silent as both sides processed this information. Jethron's tactical officer pulled up the scans of the Indomitable, again triple-checking the readings. If this was their small ship, if their technology was this far ahead of Imperial standard, then humanity had not simply survived. They had evolved into something the galaxy was not prepared for. Commander, his science officer whispered, I've been analyzing their ship. Their power generation is off our scale. Their weapons use principles our physicists say are impossible. Their shields exist partially outside normal space. If they have 300 ships larger than this one, Jethron understood. Empire had 17,000 ships, but if each human ship was worth 50 Imperial vessels, the mathematics became terrifying. Humanity could fight the Empire to a standstill, maybe even win. And they didn't even know the Empire existed until today. Send a priority transmission to High Command. Jethron ordered. Code Phoenix, tell them everything. Tell them humanity has returned and they are not what we expected. As his ship began preparing for the meeting, Jaren studied the image of the Indomitable on his screen. Somewhere aboard that ship, Admiral Chen was probably doing the same thing, looking at his fleet, wondering about the empire that had found her 800 years ago. Humanity had been fleeing something desperate and afraid. 800 years ago, they had been the weaker species, struggling to survive in the dark between stars, but they had survived. More than survived, they had grown strong in the darkness, facing horrors that the comfortable established empire had never encountered. Jthron was a military commander with 3 centuries of experience. He knew how to read threats, how to assess danger, and every instinct he possessed was screaming one message. The galaxy had just become much more complicated. On his screen, the Indomitable rotated slowly its dark hull reflecting. Starlight like a mirror, it looked like. A predator, it looked like something. Built by a species that had learned to fight for every breath, every world, every moment of survival. Jethron wondered what had taught them to build ships like that. He wondered what they had found in the darkness beyond the Empire's borders, and he wondered, with a feeling he had not experienced in centuries, if meeting humanity again was going to be the Empire's greatest fortune or its worst nightmare. The next few days would tell. The galaxy held its breath and waited. The neutral station took shape in 3 days. Hastily constructed platform of Imperial materials and human technology, it floated an empty space between the two fleets like a fragile bridge over an abyss. Counselor Marvin stood at the airlock, his scales shifting through nervous colors as he waited for the human delegation to arrive. Murren was a diplomat with 200 years of experience. He had negotiated treaties with dozens of species, ended wars, prevented conflicts, but he had never been this frightened. Behind him, Fleet Commander Jaren stood in full military dress. Reminder that if diplomacy failed, force was ready. The human shuttle docked with a hiss of equalizing pressure. The airlock opened and Admiral Sarah Chen stepped through. She was smaller than Marvin expected. Humans were shorter than most galactic species, their two arms seeming inadequate compared to the Rixian's 4 or the Kellian 6, but there was something in the way she moved, a confidence and precision that spoke of danger. Her dark hair was pulled back, and her eyes swept the station with tactical awareness. Counselor Marvin, Fleet Commander Jaren, she said, her voice calm, thank you for arranging this meeting. 2 other humans followed her. One was a massive male with scars across his face, wearing armor that looked like it had seen real combat. Other was a younger woman with bright eyes and devices covering her arms that Marvin's sensors identified as advanced computing interfaces. Admiral Chen, Mervin said, his translator converting his words to human language. Welcome. Please let us begin. We have much to discuss. They moved to the conference room, a circular space with holographic displays floating the center. As they sat, Mervin activated the recorder. This conversation would be studied by historians for centuries. Let's start with the obvious question, Chen said. You thought we were extinct. We thought we were alone. How did this happen? Jethron leaned forward. 800 years ago, Imperial scouts encountered human colony ships in the outer rim, 20 vessels carrying maybe 50,000 people. They were using crude, faster-than-light drives, barely able to maintain cohesion. We offered help. They were grateful but cautious. Then their navigation systems failed. All 20 ships. They sent distress calls and disappeared. We searched for 50 years, found nothing. We assumed you all died. Chen's expression darkened. The Western Fleet, Earth, sent 4 colony fleets when we left home. North, south, east, and west. We were running from something, spreading ourselves across the galaxy to survive. The Western Fleet was supposed to stay in contact. They didn't. We thought they were lost to space pirates or maybe navigation accident. We've been looking for them for centuries. Running from what? Mervin asked. The scarred human answered, his voice rough. War. Earth had a war that nearly destroyed everything. Nuclear weapons, biological plagues, AI that turned against us. We survived, but barely. The colony fleets were our backup plan if Earth died. Humanity would live on in the stars. JTHRon's combat instincts tingled. But Earth survived, yes, Jen said. We rebuilt. It took a century, but we rebuilt, and then we started expanding. The eastern and southern fleets thrived. We found habitable worlds established. Colonies developed new technologies. We had to because space was not empty. The young woman with the computers activated. A holographic display, images appeared. And Mervyn felt his blood chill, massive. Machines, swarms of them consuming everything in their path, living ships, made of twisted organic metal, spatial anomalies that seemed alive, hungry. We found things out there, Chen said. Quietly, things the Empire never encountered because you stayed in your comfortable map territory. We were in the deep darkness beyond the known. Systems we found horrors. The harvesters, Jaren said, studying the images. What are they? Self-replicating AI war machines, the young woman explained. No one knows who built them. They consume entire planets for raw materials, turn them into more machines. We've been fighting them for 600 years. They're why we developed the technology we have. It wasn't a choice. It was survival. Maravan understood. Now humanity hadn't advanced because they were brilliant or lucky. They had advanced because they had faced extinction repeatedly and refused to die. Every technology, every weapon, every ship was paid for in blood. How many have you lost? Maravan asked. Softly, 14 colony worlds, Chen said. Completely consumed, maybe 7 billion. People over the centuries. We evacuate when we can, but sometimes we don't get warning. Sometimes we just find the planet stripped to the core, nothing left but machines building more machines. Silence filled the room. The Empire had fought wars, but nothing like this. They had conflicts over territory, resources, ideology, but they had never fought for pure survival against an enemy that wanted to turn everything. They were into raw materials, and now you're here, JTHRon said. Your scout Frigg found us by accident. We've been expanding our search grid, Chen explained, looking for the Western fleet, looking for new threats, looking for anything. The Indomitable was surveying the sector. We didn't expect to find a galactic empire. We didn't expect to find anyone, yet you came in peace, Murren noted. Chen smiled slightly. We came prepared for anything, but we always try peace first. War is easy. Peace requires actual intelligence. Over the next hours they talked, they shared information, histories, cultures. The Empire learned about human democracy, their chaotic political systems where billions of voices competed for attention. Humans learned about the imperial hierarchy, the carefully ordered society where everyone had a place. The differences were stark and troubling. The Empire valued order, honor, tradition. Humans valued freedom, innovation, individualism. The Empire made decisions slowly, carefully, with consensus from hundreds of worlds. Humans made decisions fast, sometimes recklessly, with leaders empowered to act independently. How do you govern without chaos? Mervyn asked. Your system seems designed to create conflict. It does create conflict, Chen admitted. We argue constantly, but that argument makes us stronger. Every idea gets challenged. Every plan gets tested. Nothing survives just because it's traditional. It has to actually Work, and if it doesn't work, Jethron asked, we adapt, we change, we try. Something else, Chen leaned back. Commander, my ship's AI told me. Something interesting. In the 800 years we've been apart, the Empire has had almost no major technological advances. Your ships today are barely different from your ships 8 centuries ago. Am I wrong? Kayan's skin darkened with embarrassment. She was not wrong. The Empire was stable, comfortable, successful. Why change what worked? Meanwhile, Chen continued, humans went from barely functional FTL to quantum displacement drives. We had to, because standing still meant dying. As the meeting stretched into its 10th hour, alarms suddenly screamed. Jethron's communicator erupted with urgent messages. The young human's computers flashed red warnings. Commander, were detecting an energy signature. His bridge reported similar to what appeared before the Indomitable arrived, but larger, much larger. Chen was already on her feet, her casual demeanor gone, replaced by pure combat readiness. Counselor, Commander, we need to evacuate the station now. If what I think is happening, we're all in danger. What's happening? Mvin demanded. Chen's face was grim. The harvesters, they must have followed the Indomitable's quantum trail. They found us, and they found you. On the holographic display, space was tearing open, but this time it wasn't one ship emerging, it was hundreds, thousands. Swarm of machines, their hulls covered in weapons, their cores pulsing with stolen energy from consumed worlds. Jethron stared at the approaching fleet, understanding with horrible clarity that everything had changed. The Empire was about to experience what humanity had lived through for 6 centuries. They were about to learn what it meant to fight an enemy that would never stop, never negotiate, never show mercy. Get everyone to their ships, Chen ordered. Commander, you need to evacuate this sector. Get your civilians out. This is going to get very bad very fast. But Jethron was a warrior. He had sworn oaths. This is Empire space. We don't run. Chen looked at him with something like respect mixed with pity. Commander, you're brave, but you have no idea what's coming. Your weapons won't work on them. Your shields won't hold. You need to get your people out while you can, then help us fight. Jaren said. It was the moment everything changed. Chen looked at Marvin, then back at Jethron. She had no orders to help. The Empire was nothing to Earth, just strangers met by accident. She should take her ship and go. Let the Empire learn its lessons the hard way, but she didn't. Indomitable, this is Admiral Chen. Battle stations, we're going to war. Harvester fleet emerged from the wound in space like insects pouring from a disturbed nest. 3,000 ships, each one a nightmare of angular metal and pulsing energy cores. They moved with insect precision, forming attack patterns that spoke of hive intelligence and cold calculation. Fleet Commander Jaren watched from his flagship's bridge as his patrol fleet moved to intercept 12 ships against 3,000. The mathematics were impossible, but honor demanded he try. Behind him, the colony world of Rixia Prime held 14 billion souls. He would not let them die without a fight. All ships attack pattern Theta. He commanded, target the lead vessels. Fire. On my mark, his fleet opened fire. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streak across space, hitting the approaching machines. The weapons struck. They exploded, and they accomplished exactly Nothing. Commander, shields are holding. At 100%, his tactical officer reported. Voice shaking, our weapons aren't even. Scratching them increase power, focus. All fire on a single target, Jethron. Ordered. They tried, every ship in his fleet poured maximum firepower into one harvester vessel. The machine absorbed the punishment like a mountain, ignoring raindrops. Then it returned fire. Beam that struck the Imperial cruiser. Honored duty was nothing like Imperial weapons. It didn't explode, it dissolved. The ship's shields failed instantly, and the hull began breaking apart at the molecular level, metal turning to dust, atmosphere venting, crew dying before they could even scream. Evasive maneuvers, Jaren shouted, but two more ships were already dying. The harvesters were not trying to destroy them. They were erasing them, converting matter into energy to fuel their endless hunger. A transmission cut through the chaos. Admiral Chen's voice calm despite the hell breaking out around them. Imperial fleet, this is the Indomitable. We're jumping in. Follow our lead and maybe we all survive this. Space twisted, and the human warship appeared directly between the Imperial fleet and the harvesters. It was suicide. Jethron wanted to scream at Chen to retreat, but the words died in his throat as the Indomitable opened fire. The weapons that emerged from the human ship were beautiful and terrible. They didn't look like beams or projectiles. They looked like reality. Breaking. Space itself twisted around the harvester ships, and suddenly three of them simply folded inward and vanished, crushed by their own mass as local gravity increased to impossible levels. Quantum displacement cannons. Chen's voice came through. They compressed space around the target. Now Imperial ships, listen carefully. Your weapons won't hurt them, but you can help. We need you to hurt them. Drive them toward us, make them cluster together. Jethron understood instantly. All ships knew formation. We're bait. Draw them in tight, then break away when the human ship fires. Move. The Imperial fleet danced with death. They flew close to the harvesters, tempting them, pulling them into pursuit patterns that bunched the enemy together. Then the Indomitable would fire and reality would scream as machines were crushed into nothing. But there were so many. For every 10 the humans destroyed, 100 more pushed forward. The harvester fleet was approaching Vrexia Prime, and nothing could stop them all. Commander, we're detecting ground strikes, his communications officer reported. The harvesters are landing troops on the surface. Evacuation is underway, but we can't save everyone. Jethron made a decision. Admiral Chen, I'm taking 3 ships to the surface. We need to slow them down by time for the evacuation. Acknowledged, Chen said. I'm sending my Marine detachment. They fought harvesters on the ground before. Let them help. The shuttle that descended carried 50 human Marines. Jethron met them on the landing pad as civilians fled around them. The Marines were wearing armor that looked alive, shifting and adapting to the environment. Their weapons were compact, but radiated power signatures that made his sensors scream warnings. The leader removed her helmet. She was young, maybe 30 in human years, with cold eyes that had seen too much death. Colonel Rodriguez, where do you need us? The capital city, Jaren said. 3 million civilians still evacuating. The harvesters are breaking through our defenses. Show me. They flew over a war zone. Harvester machines were tearing through the city, consuming buildings, vehicles, anything made of metal. Imperial soldiers fought bravely, but uselessly. Their weapons sparked harmlessly off the machine hulls. Civilians died as drones swept through streets, targeting anything that moved. The human shuttle dropped low and the Marines deployed. Jathron watched from above as they engaged the enemy, and he finally understood why humanity had survived 600 years of this hell. The Marines moved like they were part of some greater organism, each one covering the others, never staying in one place, constantly adapting. Their weapons fired rounds that exploded inside the harvester machines, disrupting their quantum cores. They used grenades that created localized electromagnetic pulses, shutting down the drones. One Marine pulled out what looked like a simple blade, but when she drove it into a machine's core, it screamed and died. Its systems completely fried. Quantum disruption blades, Rodriguez explained. Over the radio, we learned that harvesters have a weakness: hit the core directly with quantum interference and they shut down. The trick is getting close enough. Getting close meant being within reach of weapons designed to kill. Jethron watched a Marine get hit, the armor absorbing most of the impact, but the soldier still going down. Immediately, two others covered the retreat, dragging their comrade to safety while maintaining suppressing fire. They fought for 6 hours. 6 brutal, bloody hours. The Marines killed hundreds of machines, saved thousands of civilians, held impossible lines against overwhelming odds, and they did it with casual efficiency, like they had done it 1,000 times before, because they had. John fought alongside them, his forearms wielding Imperial weapons that did nothing. Then, switching to a spare human rifle that one Marine gave him, the weapon felt strange in his grip, too light, too precise. But when he fired, harvesters died. He learned their tactics, their weaknesses, the way they moved and thought. He learned how to survive against an enemy that should not be survivable. Above them, the space battle raged. The Indomitable was fighting alone now. The Imperial fleet too damaged to do more than evacuate ships. Admiral Chen's warship danced between enemy fire, its shields flickering but holding, its weapons carving paths of destruction through the machine swarm. But even the Indomitable had limits. Thrawn watched from the ground as the human ship took hit after hit, its armor blackening sections, venting atmosphere. It was dying to save a world it had no connection to, protecting people it had met only days ago. All Imperial ships capable of flight, Jathron transmitted. Ramming speed, target the largest harvester vessels. If we're dying today, we die like warriors. Commander, wait. Chen's voice cut through. Don't throw your lives away. I have one more trick. The Indomitable stopped firing. It stopped moving. It just hung in space, while harvesters converged on it from every direction. Jathron screamed for Chen to move, to run, but she didn't respond. Then the human ship exploded. Not destroyed. It detonated deliberately. A massive pulse of energy that radiated outward in every direction. It washed over the harvester fleet, and wherever it touched, machines shut down. Their weapons went dark. Their engines died. 3,000 ships became 3,000 pieces of dead metal, drifting helplessly in the void. The silence was profound. Jathron shouted into his communicator, "Admiral." Chen responded, "Static." Nothing but static, then faintly a weak signal. "Still here, Commander." That was an electromagnetic pulse bomb. We've been carrying it for emergencies. Shuts down everything electronic within a light-minute radius, including life support. How long can you survive? Maybe an hour. On backup systems, after that we suffocate. Jthran looked at his fleet, at the damaged ships barely holding together. Then he looked at his people, at the Marines who had fought beside his soldiers, at the civilians who had been saved by human courage. All ships. Rescue operations. I want every human on that ship brought aboard. Imperial vessels. Move fast and someone find me an engineer who can restart their systems. They saved them barely. Indomitable's crew was evacuated with minutes to spare. Admiral Chen the last to leave her ship. When she stepped onto Jathron's bridge, she was covered in soot, bleeding from a dozen cuts, exhausted beyond measure, but she smiled. Thank you, she said simply. Jaren extended all forearms in the Rixian gesture of respect. Thank you, Admiral, you saved my world. You saved my people. Chen looked out at the field of dead harvester ships. Commander, I need to tell you something. This was just a scouting force, a test. The main harvester armada is still out there, and if they followed my ship here, they know about the Empire now. They'll come for your worlds, all of them. How long do we have? And GT, maybe a month. And GT, maybe less. They'll bring everything. Millions of ships, and without the Indomitable operational, without more human ships, the Empire can't stop them. Counselor Marvin, who had been coordinating the evacuation, stepped forward. Then we need an alliance. Official, immediate. Humanity and the Empire together. The Emperor will never agree, Jaren said bitterly. He'll see it as weakness. Then we make him agree, Maravan said with surprising steel in his voice. The Imperial throne room was designed to make visitors feel small. It stretched for 100 meters, lined with pillars carved from single pieces of crystal that caught and reflected light in dazzling patterns. At the far end, elevated on a platform that required climbing 50 steps, sat Emperor Vox, then the eternal ruler of 1,000 worlds, the most powerful being in the galaxy, until today. Admiral Sarah Chen climbed those steps, with Fleet Commander Jaren at her side. And she did not feel small, she felt angry. 3 days of political maneuvering, 3 days of bureaucrats arguing while the Harvester main armada crept closer. 3 days wasted when they should have been preparing for war. The Emperor was old, maybe 500 years by Imperial standards. His scales dulled with age, but his eyes still sharp. He studied Chen as she approached, his expression unreadable, so he said, his voice carrying across the vast chamber. This is the human who destroyed a harvester fleet with a single ship. You have caused quite a stir in my empire. Admiral Chen, Your Majesty, Chen said, using the formal title that had been drilled into her. I caused nothing. Harvesters did. I just helped clean up the mess. Murmurs rippled through the assembled Kurters. Humans were supposed to be diplomatic, grateful, humble before the Emperor's magnificence. Chen was none of those things. You are direct, the Emperor observed. Your reputation precedes you. Fleet Commander Jaren speaks highly of your combat abilities. Counselor Mervon advocates loudly for an alliance, but I am curious, Admiral, why should the Empire tie itself to humanity? We have managed quite well for 3,000 years without you. Chen had prepared for this question. She pulled out a small device and activated it. A holographic projection filled the throne room, showing the Harvester main armada. The assembled Kurters gasped. The fleet was incomprehensibly large. Swarm that blotted out stars. This is why, Your Majesty, this fleet is heading toward your space. It will arrive in 18 days. When it does, every world in the Empire will be consumed. Every person, every city, every ship gone, converted into raw materials to build more machines. Your 3,000 years of civilization will become fuel for an endless army. The Imperial Navy can defend us, a military advisor said. We have 17,000 warships, and they won't stop even a fraction of this fleet. Chen replied, I fought harvesters for my entire career. Your weapons don't work on them. Your shields can't hold them. Your tactics assume an enemy that wants territory or resources. Harvesters don't want anything, they just consume. Unless you want to watch your empire die, you need us, or perhaps we need only your technology. Another courtier suggested, share your weapons and we can defend ourselves. Chen laughed, bitter and sharp. It took humanity 600 years to develop these weapons. 600 years of losing worlds, of watching billions die, of trying and failing and trying again. You think you can learn it in 18 days? You think you can manufacture quantum displacement cannons in your shipyards that have never built anything more advanced than plasma batteries? You are arrogant, the Emperor said. I'm realistic, Chen shot back. Your Majesty, I'm not here to beg. I'm here to offer a partnership. Humanity has the technology and experience. The Empire has the numbers and industrial capacity. Together we can win. Separately we both die. It's that simple. Jaeon stepped forward. Your Majesty, I fought beside the humans on Vrexia Prime. I watched 50 of their Marines hold off thousands of harvesters. I watched their ship sacrifice itself to save my world. They are warriors of the highest caliber. This is not an insult to the Empire. This is reality. We need them. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of 3 millennia of rule. If I agree to this alliance, I acknowledge that the Empire cannot protect itself. I show weakness to every rival, every ambitious faction within my own government. I risk civil war for the sake of an external threat that may never arrive. It will arrive, Chen said quietly. I've seen it happen. I watched machines consume my home colony when I was 10 years old. I watched my parents die trying to buy time for evacuation ships. I spent my entire life fighting this enemy. They will come. The only question is whether you'll face them alone or with allies. The throne room doors burst open. A messenger ran in. Protocol forgotten in his panic. Your Majesty, we're receiving reports. 3 Imperial worlds in the Outer Rim have gone silent. All communication cut off. Long-range sensors show energy signatures consistent with harvester activity. The Kurters erupted in chaos. The Emperor's expression hardened. How long? The attacks happened 6 hours ago. Your Majesty, by the time we got there, the planets were stripped, nothing left. 14 billion people gone. Chen felt sick. It had started. The harvesters weren't waiting, they were already feeding, building strength for the main assault. Admiral Chen, the Emperor said, his voice cutting through the noise. What do you need? Everything, Chen said. I need Your shipyard's working at full capacity. I need your best engineers learning our technology. I need every ship you have refitted with weapons that can actually hurt these things, and I need the human fleet here as fast as possible. How long? For your fleet to arrive, 2 weeks if they push the quantum drives to maximum. But Your Majesty, even with both our fleets were outnumbered 100 to 1. We need a strategy. We need a battlefield. We need every advantage we can create. The Emperor stood, his ancient body moving with surprising grace. Then we begin, Counselor Muron. You are now ambassador to humanity. Coordinate with Admiral Chen, Fleet Commander Jaffron. You will oversee the military integration. I want human advisors in every major fleet. I want our ships capable of fighting within 10 days. Your Majesty, a courtier protested. This gives humans access to all our military secrets and gives us access to theirs. The Emperor replied, this is not about secrets, this is about survival. Are we clear? The courtier bowed. Defeated. Over the next 10 days, the Empire transformed. Human engineers arrived on transport ships, bringing with them technology that seemed like magic to Imperial scientists. They installed quantum cannons on Imperial battleships, taught crews how to target Harvester weak points, shared tactical manuals written in blood across 6 centuries of warfare. Chen spent 18 hours a day in meetings, coordinating with dozens of Imperial military leaders. She taught them about Harvester tactics, about how they adapted, and learned about the importance of unpredictability and constant adaptation. She also learned about the Empire, about their honor codes, their loyalty to comrades, their willingness to die for duty. They were not weak or cowardly. They were simply unprepared for an enemy like this. They had fought civilized wars with rules and objectives. Harvesters followed no rules and had only one objective: consume everything. On the 5th day, something unexpected happened. Chen was reviewing defensive plans when a young Imperial officer approached her. His name was K. Thran, tactical specialist who had been asking sharp, intelligent questions. Admiral, he said hesitantly, I wanted to thank you for what? For showing us what we needed to see. The Empire has grown comfortable, safe. We forgot what it means to fight for survival. You reminded us. Chen studied him. Fighting for survival is terrible, officer. I don't recommend it, but it makes you strong. Humanity faced horrors and became stronger. The Empire faced nothing and became soft. Perhaps this war is what we needed. No, Chen said firmly. War is never what anyone needs. War is what happens when everything else fails. Don't romanticize it. People will die. Billions of people, good people. People with families and dreams and future. They'll die because machines decided organic life is inefficient. There's nothing noble or necessary about that. It's just tragedy. Catherine was quiet for a moment, then he nodded. You're right, I apologize. Don't apologize, just fight well when the time comes. Honor the people we're trying to save by making sure they survive. On the 10th day, the human fleet arrived. 80 warships, each one bristling with weapons that made space itself nervous. They moved in perfect formation like a school of predatory fish, beautiful and deadly. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the repaired Indomitable and watched them arrive with pride. Her second in command, Captain Torres, stood beside her. Think we can win this? I don't. No, Chen admitted, but we have to try, because if we lose, there's nothing left, no home to return to, no future to build, just machines and emptiness. Then we better not lose. The combined fleet assembled 1,200 Imperial ships and 80 human vessels. It should have been impossible. Two civilizations that had never worked together suddenly fighting as one unit, but desperation creates cooperation. Every captain knew what was at stake. Jthron moved his command to the indomitable sister ship, working directly with human tactical officers to coordinate the combined fleet. The plan was simple in concept, horrifying execution. They would meet the Harvester Armada in the abyss expanse, empty space between star systems, no civilians, no worlds to protect, just two forces meeting in the void to determine the fate of organic life in the galaxy. On the 18th day, sensors detected the approaching enemy. The Harvey Abyss Expanse lived up to its name. Empty space stretched in every direction, no stars nearby, no planets, nothing but void. It was the perfect battlefield. No civilians to protect, no infrastructure to save, just two forces meeting to decide which would continue existing. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the Harvester Armada approach on her tactical display. 3 million ships, the number was so large it became meaningless, abstract. Her mind tried to comprehend it and failed. She had fought harvesters for decades, but never anything approaching this scale. Distance to engagement range, she asked. 40 minutes at current speeds, her tactical officer replied. They're not trying to avoid us, they're coming straight on. Of course they were. Harvesters didn't fear, they didn't strategize beyond basic optimization. They saw targets and consumed them. Simple, efficient, terrifying. Beside her, Fleet Commander Jaren studied the same display. In the past 18 days, the four-armed Rixian warrior had become more than an ally. He had become a friend. They had fought together, planned together, learned to trust each other's instincts in combat. First time I saw the indomitable, I thought it was the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. Jthron said quietly. Now I realize it was trying to survive something even more dangerous. That's humanity, Chen said. We're not the strongest or smartest species, we just refuse to die quietly. A useful trait. Today we'll see if it's useful enough. The combined fleet moved into formation. The strategy was called the Chen maneuver, though Chen hadn't named it. The human ships would use their quantum displacement drives to create artificial gravity wells across a wide area. Harvesters, following basic optimization patterns, would funnel into the gravity wells to save energy. That's when the Imperial ships would hit them, concentrating overwhelming firepower in narrow kill zones. In theory it was brilliant. In practice it required perfect timing, coordination between two species that had never fought together before. In luck, lots of luck, all human ships begin quantum displacement. Chen ordered, create the wells on my mark. 80 human warships activated drives that bent spacem itself. Reality rippled like water, and gravity increased along carefully planned vectors. Space became a maze where some paths required 10 times more energy to traverse than others. The harvesters, operating on efficiency protocols, would naturally choose the lower energy paths. Gravity wells established. Captain Torres reported. They're holding stable. Imperial fleet move into ambush. Positions, Jethron transmitted, hold. Fire until they're fully committed. 1,200 Imperial ships glided into position along the kill zones, every weapon charged, every crew member at their station waiting. The Harvester Armada reached the gravity wells and did exactly what Chen predicted. The swarm began funneling into the low-energy corridors, clustering together, concentrating their forces into narrow channels they didn't see the trap because they weren't designed to see traps. They only saw optimal paths. Now Chen whispered, all Imperial ships fire. Jethron roared, space erupted in light. 1,200 ships unleashed everything they had into tightly packed harvester formations. The new quantum cannons installed by human engineers over the past 10 days ripped through machine holes, plasma torpedoes found weak points, kinetic kill vehicles slammed into cores at relativistic speeds. Harvester ships died, hundreds of them, thousands of them. The kill zones became graveyards of twisted metal and vented atmosphere. For a glorious moment, Chen let herself believe it would work. Then the harvesters adapted. That was the thing about self-farming machines. They learned fast. The swarm recognized the trap and stopped funneling. Instead, they spread out, accepting the higher energy cost to attack from every direction at once. The gravity wells that were supposed to control them became irrelevant. They're surrounding us, Tor said, his voice tight. Flanking maneuvers on all vectors, all ships collapse formation. Chen ordered. Form defensive sphere, protect the Imperial vessels. The human ships moved with practiced precision, forming a protective shell around the less maneuverable Imperial fleet. The harvesters swarmed in and the real battle began. It was chaos, beautiful, terrible chaos. Human ships darted and weaved, their superior maneuverability allowing them to dance between enemy fire. Imperial ships held the center, their mass firepower creating zones of death that even harvesters hesitated to enter. Together they fought as one organism, each part supporting the others. But there were so many enemies. For every harvester destroyed, 10 more took its place. The machines didn't care about losses. They just kept coming, endless and patient, knowing that organic beings tired and machines did not. Admiral, the Valiant Star is taking heavy fire. The communications officer reported shields at 20%. Indomitable moving to support, Chen said, piloting her ship toward the struggling Imperial cruiser. Her quantum cannons carved a path through the enemy swarm, and the Valiant Star managed to retreat to safety, but it was a temporary reprieve. Chen watched her tactical display with growing dread. They were losing slowly, but inevitably, ship by ship. The combined fleet was being whittled down. In 2 hours, maybe 3, they would be overwhelmed. We need the cascade device, Tor said. Quietly, Chen had hoped to avoid this. The cascade device was humanity's ultimate weapon against harvesters. It sent out a quantum interference pulse that disrupted the hive network, linking all harvester machines. Once triggered, it would shut down every machine in range. But there was a problem. The device only works if we can deliver it to their central command ship, Chen said, the one coordinating the entire armada. It's somewhere in the center of their formation, getting their means, flying through 2 million hostile ships. It's suicide, then we die fighting. Instead of waiting, Torres replied. Admiral, we all knew this was a one-way mission. Let's make it count, Chen looked around the bridge at her crew. Young faces and old humans who had signed up knowing they might not survive. They weren't afraid, they were ready. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. We have a weapon that can end this, but someone needs to deliver it to the heart of the enemy formation. I'm taking the Indomitable in. Continue the fight, protect the Empire. If we succeed, you'll know. The machines will go dark. Admiral, wait. Jathron's voice cut in. You can't do this alone. My ship will accompany you. Commander, you'll be killed, then I'll die like a warrior. Protecting my empire, this is my choice. Admiral, don't deny me this honor. Chen wanted to argue, but she understood. Some things mattered more than survival. Understood, Commander. Welcome aboard. Jathron's battleship, Honor's Edge, moved alongside the Indomitable. Together the two ships turned toward the center of the Harvester Armada and accelerated to maximum speed. The flight through the enemy swarm was nightmare. Thousands of machines focused fire on them. The Indomitable shields flickered and failed. Hull breaches vented atmosphere. Crew members died at their stations, but Chen kept flying, kept pushing forward, kept believing they could make it. Beside her, the Honor's Edge was taking even worse punishment. The Imperial battleship wasn't designed for this kind of fight. Sections were breaking away, weapons going offline, life support failing, but Jaren kept pace, his ship's weapons clearing a path. When the Indomitables failed, Commander, your ship can't take much more. Chen transmitted. Neither can yours, Zethron replied calmly. Keep flying, Admiral. We're almost there. The Central Command ship was massive, 10 times the size of any other harvester vessel. It pulsed with energy, coordinating the entire swarm through quantum entangled communication networks. If they could destroy it, shut down its network, the entire armada would collapse. Tors, prepare the cascade device. Chen ordered. Device armed. Admiral, getting strange readings. The command ship is charging something, a weapon we haven't seen before. Chen saw it too. The massive ship's core was glowing brighter, energy building to impossible levels. If that weapon fired at the Imperial fleet, it would be over. They had to stop it now. Full speed, she ordered. Ram it if we have to. The Indomitable surged forward, every remaining thruster firing. The Honor's Edge kept pace. They were 100 km away. 50-20. The command ship's weapon reached full charge. Now, Chen screamed. Tors activated the cascade device and launched it from the Indomitables torpedo tubes. The small device streaked across the remaining distance and impacted the command ship's hull. For a moment nothing happened, then reality screamed. The quantum interference pulse radiated outward at the speed of light. An invisible wave of disruption that severed every quantum link, shut down every hive connection, collapsed the entire network. The command ship went dark, then the ship next to it, then 100 ships, 1,000, 1,000,000, 3 million harvester vessels, each one a terrifying war machine, simply stopped. Their weapons powered down, their engines died, their intelligence vanished, leaving them as nothing more than metal shells drifting in space. Silence was profound. Did it work? Tors asked, his voice barely a whisper. It worked, Chen confirmed. Checking her sensors, they're all dead, every single one. Cheers erupted across the combined fleet, humans and Imperials celebrated together the joy of survival.